Hello, welcome to this little walkthrough of our exhibition, Figure de pensée, Denkbewegungen, it's German for movements of thinking, that Nikolaus Gansterer and I did together. Me as a philosopher, curator, critic, Nikolaus as an artist, researcher, collaborating on this show. We're here at Tanneries, Centre d'Art Contemporain in Amiens, near Paris, and we'd like to show you our show if you want. We'll walk in several steps. I guess we'll do 3 or 4 short videos about different parts of the exhibition, and we'll really start in medias res with the new works that we developed together with Nikolaus for Tanneries here for the show. We started working on this 2 years ago, before COVID, before the world somehow, came to a halt. And yeah, come along. Here we are already in this space that's all works that basically came out of our collaboration. Even though those who know Nikolaus Gansterer's work will recognize, of course, his visual language. Even some of his objects might be visible here. Nikolaus is now looking at a wall, which is a wall of blue drawings, mostly blue, which maybe comes from this aspect of writing, because we really started looking at writing together on themes that we both are interested in, namely how can you depict phenomena that are hard to depict, like here we're talking about pain. And the way we kind of try to work together is really to choose one philosopher that we had both been interested in and who's interested in similar themes, who is Ludwig Wittgenstein, and to start out with texts of his. Nikolaus, do you want to say a little bit about these works?
Yeah, for me it was like really interesting to in this collaboration to choose a paragraph mainly from the philosophical investigations, this kind of second important publication of Ludwig Wittgenstein, and to like really take it as a starting point to take off in thinking around it and drawing around it. And for me, thinking and drawing are very much interrelated activities. So, and I think that's also interesting to know that Wittgenstein also was one philosopher who drew also into his manuscript. So I think a few of these drawings are still in the publication, but actually there are many more. So one can see that like thinking with the hand is kind of an activity which was also known to him, and which I can very much relate to. For me, drawing is really thinking with the hand, and in order to lay out something, to make something for me plausible, to speculate further, to put elements, figures of thought in relation to each other, and they are never meant as direct illustrations of what one can read, rather as kind of, as we put it both, like deviations, to deviate, kind of to take a route into maybe the unknown, to drift, to derive, into some kind of territory of not yet known constellations, configurations. They appear whilst drifting, and that has to do something with, for me, with trust, that you kind of trust that in this process of drifting you find something.
I like this idea of drifting, because this is really also the way I think we try to set up this wall, and we try each time for the different corpora of words and pieces to find a way to show them that would be adequate. And here each of the groups basically is around one paragraph that we chose, but they also somehow all connected. So we try to at the same time create these islands, and you spoke about drawing around Wittgenstein. Interestingly, of course, Wittgenstein himself was a thinker who said that he jumped around the problems. That's his only natural way of thinking, he says, is to jump around the problems.
Almost like a choreographic.
Yeah, it's really a choreographic figures. So this is also, of course, a figure of thinking in a certain way, and we were interested in this idea that there are different figures and movements of thinking. The term Denkbewegungen is also a term that Wittgenstein used himself, where he said his movement of thinking and his Denkbewegung changed throughout the years. So the way the wall really works is that we have, each time we have drawings that were done by Nikolaus based on our exchange, based on reading the text, and then we wanted to give people a way into the work by also giving them access to the paragraphs, and maybe we can walk a bit together along the wall to give them access to the paragraph that basically was the starting point for our drifts. And I annotated them in my kind of philosophical way, so sometimes also allowing a drawing to emerge, of course, in a much different way than Nikolaus does so. And so it was important for us to, as we are here in France, to also provide some entry points for a French audience. So I reworked really the paragraphs in the French edition, even though we had been working on the German original or sometimes also looking at the English translation. One trace where you also really see this work on the translation and how things change when you translate them is this little figure that you see in this drawing, which in our dialogue we kind of zoomed into virtually, and it became this big drawing here, where we still have the origin of the oa, which this is a paragraph on pain, where Wittgenstein talks about pain behaviors, right? And this idea of the oa is a typical pain behavior. But of course, once we were thinking it through, we realized that oa is really just pain behavior in German. And you have the feeling that it's something very spontaneous. You're like, oh, right, that's German. But then apparently the French equally spontaneously say, aïe, right? And the English say, ouch. And each of these seems spontaneous, but at the same time you realize that language and the social aspect of language already informs these expressions. And so it was interesting to say even like an exclamation is really translated and needs to be translated. So I think here we are really also at the heart of Wittgenstein's preoccupations already with language, with the social character of language, because famously he said that meaning can usually be explained, the meaning of a word is its use in the language. And so this aspect of how our words used is super important.
By the way, he also said language is a labyrinth, no?
Right.
And, in that sense, I think also that makes sense how we displayed these, I think it's more than 200 drawings meanwhile, yeah, and kind of show only a selection, and actually for me leaving these open spaces, these kind of almost like blind spots, reflects also very much on the one hand to the way he wrote, you know, with this kind of very short aphorisms where he kind of figures something out and then jumps to the next thing, or he would like come back 20 pages later and referring back. So it's kind of an open system, and where for me the wide in between the drawings is somehow has a similar importance almost as the drawings.